the media has been trying to use this leak as a way to justify and create sympathy towards the Ukrainian cause so they can get more funds. But it's been devastating because it's shown how much Ukrainian casualties there are in this war. This Terry, I just read her tweet. This is a great one. They also reveal this is the story here that there are 14 United States troops in Ukraine. I mean, I would have guessed that anyway. There was a story we cover how there was British special operations in Ukraine as well, so that doesn't surprise me. But I want to analyze how the media is covering this leaks. But before I do that, let's read this tweet from Tara Reid. She said, $114 billion of taxpayer money sent to Ukraine. The Department of Defense flunking its audit 6 times. Congress never declared war. Biden stated no troops in Ukraine. This is a crime. So you have Biden. This was Tariq calling out. Biden says there's no troops in Ukraine, but that is one of the things that the leaks expose. And now I'm gonna show this from System Update because it's kind of how the way the media is also kind of covering this story. And I want to get your take on this after I play the video. Instead of holding people like Biden accountable for lying, instead of holding the government accountable for spying on its allies, which was revealed as well, the media in our country is focusing on wagging their finger at the Pentagon for allowing this leak to happen. The fourth estate. So I spoiled it. So I'll play just a little bit of this and you guys see what I'm talking about.
Okay. In the days after the leaks came to light, what steps has DoD taken to reduce the number of people who have access to not only these classified briefings, but classified material in general? You are taking steps to tighten that, I guess, population who might have access to this level of information.
General Ryder, you say that there are strict protocols in place, and yet a 21-year-old airman was able to access some of the nation's top secrets.
This is their question.
How did this happen, and isn't this a massive security breach? What is your message to anyone who might be thinking of leaking these kind of documents in the future?
Can you tell us, are there less people who have access to this type of information today than there were a week ago?
So I'm literally pausing halfway. I think the point is made. There's literally more of this, like another minute of questions like this. Instead of asking substantive questions, the media acts as an arm of the Pentagon. Anyway, Fiorella, I would love to get your take on this. You can speak on the leaks as well if you want. What's your general reaction?
Yeah, so first of all, on the way the media is taking this, that's because they've been instructed to do so. You know, the video that went viral of the Fox News anchor and the correspondent basically saying that Fox has agreed not to publish these leaked documents. So Fox has agreed not to do journalism. And we know this, Nick. We know that that's the reason we do this. A lot of us is because we know that our media is completely a PR for the State Department. We know that that's a fact at this point, whether Twitter or not decides to label them that, right? Because then they'll have a tantrum. But the reality is that is what our media is. And it's just an extension of the State Department of the government, which is extremely fascistic. It's not at all any sort of, you know, publicly funded or anything like that. It's just completely, and you can't even say it's the state and the state governing over the people. It's literally a segment within the state and the defense industry, the Pentagon, etc. And so when we say that, this is exactly what we mean. They're not going to actually question the content of the leaks. They're not even going to go into that. They're just simply going to focus on, oh my gosh, is there more security to prevent this from happening? And that's how, in my opinion, this is why I've questioned these leaks, because compared to the way they've reacted when Cy Hirsch released his information, the way he was called a blogger, even though he's like a renowned independent investigative journalist, the way they just dismiss and call everybody an asset or something when they actually are threatened by information. It seems like this information was released with control. A 21-year-old, that is a question, a 21-year-old getting access to this, a national serviceman, which is what he was, Air Force serviceman, I believe. And so it's just really weird to me that happened, but that's even a whole other discussion. But I do think that the reason this is being pushed out there is for a sort of narrative to basically push the censorship of any information and to just belittle the questioning of what the real American people are having. Because Nick, I think you've probably noticed so many people have been questioning the pretty much the details that the United States has provided to the West and via the media about Russia, Ukraine, about everything. So many Americans have begun questioning that to the point where now it's threatened the establishment's, aim and their objectives. So it seems to me that they're using this to sort of say, oh, we need more security, we need more censorship, and also with the TikTok legislation and all of that to pretty much prevent people from actually hearing anything outside of this managed narrative. And I think that's actually a danger that we as Americans should really be pushing back against.
I can tell their intentions based on the way they covering this. I don't know if you noticed this, but they keep saying these were leaked on private messages like Discord. There was circulated on social media. What is going on? Why is all these leaks on social media and Discord, which is a gaming app? That every story led that way, which makes me believe this is their way to manufacture consent for the Restrict Act, which is a horrific bill. Now, and this is why I say this. It's convenient that all this shit is dropping at the same time. So I love that you mentioned this because you right on the same track as I am, because this is reported by NBC News. The Biden administration is looking to expand how it monitors social media sites and chat rooms after U.S. intelligence failed to realize classified Pentagon documents circulated online for weeks. You guys see? What Fiorella's talking about? You guys see what we're talking about here? This is exactly what this is meant to do. As people started to question this war more, they're going to use this leak as a way to justify this massive power grab by the executive and legislative branch in this country. So this is what it's about. This is a great tweet from Steve, because this is kind of in our same line of thinking. He said, this is the authoritarian's playbook. Create a boogeyman. Whip up fear. Control the narrative. You mentioned that earlier. Control the narrative. Silence dissenting voices. Strip away rights for protection. Weaponize police state against dissenting voices. That is what the Restrict Act is, and that is what they are trying to manufacture consent around. And we got to be hip to this because they're trying to incorporate these new tactics to trick like young people. You see like young Democrats, they fall for it, like the youth wing of the Democrat, like they fall for this stuff. So they try these new tactics, and independent media, we gotta be the one who call it out. We gotta be the ones to give people the heads up, right? But any last thoughts on this topic in general?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's really obvious you mentioned it, right? All of this happening at the same time. It's not coincidental, guys. We've seen this playbook before, as was just mentioned in the tweet. Like, this is a reoccurring playbook with so many things that are used against to divide people, are also used to restrict our rights as civilians, especially as more and more dissent grows. They see us looking at what's going on in France, and they're like, oh, no, we're not going to have that here. Because, I mean, our population in the United States is extremely distracted, extremely uneducated on foreign policy, which is really what drives everything else. Our foreign policy, does drive our domestic policy. It's essentially what drives it, because everything that's going on in Ukraine, we're ignoring what's happening on the domestic and in the United States, the growing inflation, the increase in rents, the increase in houselessness. They want to distract you with all these things like about Trump and all of this other crap. But like the reality is, while that's happening, every single major economist is predicting a recession. Meanwhile, the yuan has grown. It's basically more than doubled. It was like in the 2% of the world currency, and now it's being used at a 4.5%. And it's going to increase. And of course, that's along with Russia and all these other economies participating. And that's not good for the people of the United States. Isn't that something that I'm joyous in seeing? Because I know a lot of my friends and family are going to be suffering because of the decline of this. But that is exactly what is happening. And, I think the American public really needs to pay attention to the world economy, because that's really what is indicating what is happening at home. And these sort of things like trying to restrict our free speech. This is why Julian Assange, again, is so important. And things like fighting for the release of political prisoners is so vital and key, because it's like, well, we have to have that ability to question. We have to have that ability to dissent. We have to have that ability to really think for ourselves. And so much of what was the quote unquote left, like the liberals at this point, right? They're not really the left, but that's what people think of when they think of the left, the squad, etc. They have become just complete and total tools of silencing any sort of dissent, of vilifying it, even to the point of calling everybody that dissents some sort of agent of Syria, of Russia, of China. And we're going to see that ramp up as our economy dwindles, and as these war hawks try to push war with China now, because pretty much the Ukraine war is a complete and total loss. They can try things with Georgia. They can try things with Poland. They can try to move things here and there, but that's pretty much a loss for the West. And now they have to shift gears to China. And this is where, of course, the conservatives that so many people were thinking were going to be so anti-war, they're going to surprise a lot of people who don't understand U.S. American politics by becoming some of the most hawkish voices in our government, because they have this anti-China button like no other, because they think the Chinese are coming to spread communism in the United States. And so they're going to start ramping up every single ounce that they oppose in Ukraine to China and via Taiwan, right? And so that's what the shift that we're going to be seeing. And I think it's extremely now more than ever important to oppose the Restrict Act, because it's not about TikTok, right? That's what they use. It's not about moral, saving our kids and all of that. There's a reason why China has a different mindset than people in the United States. Our culture values reality TV. Our culture values distraction and capitalism and all of that. China is a completely different mindset. They're more of a collectivist culture that has nothing to do with TikTok or like, the Chinese coming in and manipulating us. No, that's us. Everything that is happening is from within our own government.